So in this video, we're going to continue going over some word problems from our chapter review, and specifically this one's going to go over number 18. So number 18 says we're jumping on a trampoline, and for every jump, the height above the trampoline is going to be measured by y, that's feet above the trampoline, and then we're also going to measure the time that we've jumped, so t is going to be the amount of seconds that I'm in the air. And they give us this general function to work with, that y equals negative 16 t squared plus 24t. So I don't know how many seconds we're in the air. Let's draw this out for a second. So we're going to be on a trampoline. And then here I am. So what we want to do is we want to find time, right? How many seconds? So we need to find time. And time is t. So if I started with my equation, negative 16 t squared plus 24t, I need to find t. Now if I'm finding t, this means I have to be able to get rid of y, because we can only solve for one variable if we have one equation. Now what we do know about this situation is that y is our height above the trampoline. I want to know how many seconds we're in the air. So if we think about one jump, we're going to start on the trampoline. So we'll start on the trampoline. We're going to go up in the air, and we're going to come back down. So we're going to end on the trampoline. The amount of time in between those two options is what we're looking for. What we do know, though, what's really good for us is we can get rid of y, because if I start on the trampoline and I end on the trampoline, I want to measure the time in between that. If I'm on the trampoline, by definition, y is 0, because again, y is how far above the trampoline I am. So if I plug in 0 for y, now this looks like a polynomial equation. So it's already equal to 0. So I need to get it into factored form. So when I factor this, I'm looking for a GCF, as well as keeping the leading coefficient positive. So I'm going to factor out a negative 8t from both of these terms. So that would turn into 2t squared minus, 2t minus 3. So if we have a polynomial equation that's equal to 0 in factored form, one of those things must have been the reason that we got 0. So here, negative 8 times what number would have been 0? Well, that number would have been 0. And over here, if I add 3, I get 2t is equal to 3. So t is equal to 3/2, which is 1.5. So why do I have two answers? Well, because one of them was the beginning of my jump. So I started on the trampoline. So that must have been when my time was 0. Now I ended on the trampoline, and again, y was equal to 0 there, and our equation told us that if t was 3/2, the y value would also be 0. So between the t value of 0 and the t value of 3/2, the jump was 3/2, or we could use 1.5 seconds long. Now, something that's kind of important to also look at, let's make sure we can look at a quick graph of that. Now, we don't know how to make these graphs necessarily yet, so I'm just going to use Desmos. So I'm going to type in negative 16, and I can't use t in here, so I'm going to use x squared plus 24x. Now, what I want us to see is that's our jump here, right? So how long am I in the air? Well, I could just measure. Again, if I started here at time equals 0, I hit the ground at time equals 1.5. And it's a good connection, again, to see how we can use our graphs and factoring to find the x-intercepts.